Have you ever wondered what the great philosopher Schopenhauer thought about fools? Well, he had some pretty sharp insights. He famously said that the wise man's happiness is found in solitude, because it's only when he's alone that he is truly with himself. On the other hand, a fool finds solitude unbearable. Why? Because when a fool is alone, he's stuck with, well, a fool. It's a bit harsh, but there's a deep truth there. Schopenhauer believed that our inner world, our thoughts and character, is what truly matters. If you have a rich inner life, you'll never be bored. But if you rely on external distractions to be happy, you'll always be running from your own emptiness. So, what do you think? Is spending time with yourself a joy or a chore? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more philosophy shorts. They have to inject nuance. They have to suddenly start arguing against themselves to save face. You did not defeat them with your logic. You defeated them with their own stupidity. Schopenhauer employed this mercilessly against his academic rivals. He did not engage in polite discourse with people he considered charlatans. He did not treat their ideas as equals. He magnified their flaws until the flaws became comical. When you do this, you protect your own energy. You step out of the ring. You become the observer, watching a child trip over their own shoelaces. But this requires a terrifying shift in your own psychology. You must kill the part of your ego that desperately wants to be recognized as right. Intelligent people are addicted to being correct. You want the satisfaction of the other person conceding. You want the moral victory. Schopenhauer would tell you that seeking validation from a fool is the ultimate form of stupidity. Why do you care if a lesser mind acknowledges your brilliance? Why do you need a blind man to compliment your painting? When you drop the need to be right in their eyes, you become immune to their provocations. You stop giving them the remote control to your nervous system. Let them hold their incorrect beliefs. Let them walk into the world with their flawed maps. It is not your duty to save them. It is your duty to protect yourself from them. Which brings us to a darker, more necessary realization. Stupidity is not a passive trait. It is highly contagious. If you spend enough time trying to navigate the chaotic, irrational landscape of a foolish person's mind, you will begin to compromise your own. Cognitive load theory explains that our mental bandwidth is strictly limited. When you interact with a highly irrational person, your brain works overtime. You are trying to predict their unpredictable reactions. You are suppressing your own frustration. You are walking on eggshells. This sustained cognitive taxation slowly degrades your own decision-making abilities. You become irritable. You make poor choices. You lose your creative edge. You are letting a parasite feed on your intellectual capital. Schopenhauer was notoriously solitary. People called him a misanthrope. They said he hated humanity, but read the wisdom of life. He did not hate humanity. He was simply ruthless about his mental diet. He wrote, "To marry is to have your rights and double your duties." He applied the same harsh mathematics to human interaction. To engage with a fool is to fee your intelligence and double your exhaustion. He developed the famous porcupine dilemma. On a cold winter night, porcupines huddle together for warmth, but their quills prick each other, forcing them apart. They are trapped between freezing in isolation or bleeding in intimacy. The intelligent person must master this distance. You cannot avoid stupid people entirely. They are your managers, your clients, your neighbors, and sometimes your blood. But you must establish a psychological quarantine. When you are forced to interact with them, you do not bring your authentic self to the table. You bring an avatar. The avatar is polite. The avatar smiles. The avatar speaks in short, agreeable sentences. Interesting perspective. I see what you mean. That's one way to look at it. The avatar gives them nothing to attack. The avatar is a mirror reflecting their own noise back at them while your actual mind remains protected behind a fortress of detachment. This is the Machiavellian application of Schopenhauer's philosophy. You are physically present, but intellectually absent. They will think they are having a conversation with you. They will think they are winning. Let them. The illusion of victory is the cheapest toy you can give a fool to keep them quiet. Do you feel the guilt rising? The societal conditioning telling you that this is manipulative, that it is arrogant to view others this way. Kill that guilt. That guilt is exactly why you have been suffering. You have been treating intellectual predators like fragile victims. A foolish person who aggressively insists on their own ignorance is not innocent. They are a hazard. David Robson in The Intelligence Trap details how institutional stupidity smart people following the confident incorrect herd has caused plane crashes, economic collapses, and medical disasters. Stupidity is dangerous. You do not owe it your vulnerability. You do not owe it your energy. You must view their ignorance as a force of nature. You do not argue with a hurricane. You do not try to educate a flood. You board up the windows. You seek high ground, and you let the storm exhaust itself. But what happens when the fool has power over you? What happens when the irrational mind signs your paycheck or holds the key to your promotion? How do you survive when the system rewards the loudest idiot in the room? When a person of low intellect gains power, their entire world is built on deep insecurity. They sense you're smarter, and they don't see it as a chance to learn. They see it as a threat. If you display your brilliance, you're just holding up a mirror to their inadequacy. A fool with power will shatter that mirror. They won't attack your intelligence directly. They'll attack your character, calling you difficult or not a team player. You can't out-argue a king in his own castle. You must outplay him. Look at Sima Yi from the Three Kingdoms. He served a foolish, arrogant regent who envied his intellect. Sima Yi didn't argue. He played a role. He faked being a weak, dying old man to make his superior feel safe and powerful. Once the regent's guard was down, Sima Yi seized the entire empire. Your intelligence isn't a badge. It's a concealed weapon. Don't show it off. Keep it hidden until the perfect moment to strike. Thanks for watching. You have insulted them to their face, and they thanked you for it. You have safely exited the conversation without expending a single calorie of intellectual energy. You must understand the economics of attention. Every hour you spend debating a fool is an hour stolen from your own empire. It is energy diverted from your wealth, your health, your actual goals. Fools are energy vampires. They do not produce. They consume. They drag you into endless circular debates because they have nothing better to do with their time. Your time is expensive. Theirs is worthless. When you engage, you are trading gold for dirt. Cut the transaction. Walk away. Let them believe they won. The lion does not lose sleep over the opinions of sheep, and the architect does not weep when the demolition crew calls his blueprints confusing. We need to address the darkest part of your psychology, the reason you keep engaging with them. It is not just because you want to be. If I can just show them the flaw in their logic, they won't make this terrible mistake. This is the arrogance of empathy. You believe you are the savior of the ignorant. You are playing God with someone else's cognitive limitations. This is a dangerous bleeding heart philosophy that will drag you to the bottom of the ocean. Kruger and Dunning's landmark 1999 study revealed the cruelest joke of human psychology. The very skills required to be competent at a task are the exact same skills required to recognize competence. Therefore, The profoundly incompetent lack the metacognition to even realize they are incompetent. They are trapped in a fortress of unearned confidence, completely blind to their own deficits. You cannot save them. They do not want to be saved. They enjoy the fortress. It is warm inside. It protects them from the terrifying complexity of the real world. When you try to forcefully drag them into the harsh light of truth, you are not acting as a healer. You are acting as an invader, and they will fight you with the ferocity of a wild animal defending its territory. Look at the people in your life. The chronically broke friend who refuses to change their spending habits, but aggressively argues about the economy. The toxic family member who creates endless drama, but insists everyone else is the problem. How many years have you spent trying to use logic to fix them? How many hours of sleep have you lost? They have not changed a single degree. But you have aged. You have grown cynical. You have grown tired. Your empathy is funding their delusion. Schopenhauer was ruthless in his assessment of human potential. He believed that character is immutable. People do not change their nature. They only change their circumstances. If a person is a fool today, they will be a fool tomorrow. Accepting this is painful. It requires a kind of emotional amputation. You have to look at people you might care about, or people you must work with, and accept their terminal limitations. You stop trying to upgrade them. You start managing them. You manage a fool the way you manage heavy machinery. You keep your hands out of the gears. You stay behind the safety lines. You expect it to operate exactly as it was built to operate. When the machine malfunctions, you don't argue with it. You pull the plug. What happens when you finally stop fighting them? What happens when you drop the rope, stop explaining yourself, and simply observe the circus around you without participating in it? You experience a profound, terrifying shift. You realize how much of your identity was wrapped up in being the smartest person in the room. You realize how much you relied on the friction of debating fools to feel alive. When you take that away, you are left with yourself. This is where the true test begins. Most intelligent people surround themselves with lesser minds intentionally. They do it because it is safe. It is easy to look like a genius when you are surrounded by idiots. It is a psychological crutch. But Schopenhauer warned that a man of high intellect who fraternizes with the vulgar will eventually be dragged down to their level. The mind adapts to its environment. If you spend your days arguing about trivialities, your mind will become trivial. You must withdraw, not a physical withdrawal into the woods, a mental withdrawal, an emotional quarantine. You must become comfortable with being misunderstood. Fools will misinterpret your distance. They will call you arrogant. They will say you have changed. They will assume your refusal to argue is a sign of weakness. Let them. Their judgment is based on a flawed premise. Why should the judgment of a flawed mind affect the peace of a sharp one? Imagine walking through an asylum. The patients point at you and call you crazy. Do you stop to debate them? Do you pull out a medical chart to prove your sanity? No, you keep walking. You understand their reality is distorted. The world is a much larger asylum, but the principle remains the exact same. When a fool insults you, it is not an insult. It is a misdiagnosis. When they reject your idea, it is not a failure. It is a confirmation that your idea is beyond their reach. This level of detachment is not coldness. It is absolute clarity. It is the understanding that your energy is a finite resource, and every drop spent on someone committed to their own ignorance is a drop stolen from your own potential. We have spent centuries glorifying the debate. We idolize the image of the intellectual warrior standing on a stage dismantling their opponent with sharp logic and flawless rhetoric. But look closer at those debates. Nothing is ever resolved. The opponent never yields. The audience simply cheers for the side they already agreed with. It is theater. It is a game played for applause. The truly dangerous minds do not play for applause. They play for outcomes. If you want to be effective, if you want to be truly unshakable, you must abandon the theater. You must adopt the mindset of an architect navigating a world of toddlers. You do not ask the toddlers for permission to build. You do not explain the load-bearing capacity of the pillars to them. You give them a toy to distract them, and you pour the concrete while they are looking the other way. This is the ultimate application of Schopenhauer's philosophy. You accept the world exactly as it is, dominated by irrationality, driven by emotion, and hostile to truth. You do not complain about it. You do not try to fix it. You exploit it. When you know that people operate on ego, you use their ego to steer them. When you know they are blind to logic, you use their emotions to guide them. When you know they are starved for validation, you feed them just enough to keep them compliant. You become the invisible hand. They think they are making the decisions. They think they are in control. But every choice they make is within the parameters you silently constructed. This is the transition from intelligence to power. Intelligence is knowing you are right. Power is not caring if they know it. Intelligence is winning the argument. Power is winning the objective, or they think they won the argument. You clicked on this video because you are exhausted. You are tired of the constant friction, the endless circular conversations, the feeling that you are losing your mind trying to inject reason into an unreasonable world. You thought the solution was a better argument, a sharper fact, a more persuasive tone. Now you know the truth. The solution is surrender, not surrendering to them, surrendering your need to change them. The moment you let go of the desire to be understood by people who are incapable of understanding, the weight lifts. The exhaustion vanishes. You watch them speak, and instead of anger, you feel a calm clinical observation. You see the cognitive biases at play. You see the Dunning-Kruger effect in real time. You see the fragile ego defending itself. It becomes predictable. And what is predictable can be managed. You are no longer a participant in their chaos. You are the observer of it. This is the therapeutic darkness. This is the cold, sharp reality that sets you free. You will never be hurt by a fool again, because you will never again give them the authority to judge your reality. Your intellect is no longer a tool for their education. It is a weapon for your own elevation. Keep it sharp, keep it hidden, and use it only when it serves your ascent. But realize this, the tactics we just discussed, the strategic incompetence, the manipulation of ego, the weaponization of absurdity, these are just the outer defenses. These are the tools you use to survive the masses. But what happens when you step past the masses? What happens when you encounter a mind that is not a fool, but a predator? A mind that sees your strategy and mirrors it back at you? The rules change entirely. The concepts that govern that level of psychological warfare are not meant for public consumption. They are too destabilizing. They dismantle the very fabric of social interaction. If this opened your eyes, understand this is only what I can show publicly. There are videos I cannot upload for everyone. There are aspects of dark psychology that I simply cannot discuss publicly on YouTube without being censored or demonetized. The algorithm suppresses the most powerful information. Those exist behind the join button. If you're still here, you're not like the others. Subscribe if you haven't, but if you want what's hidden, click the join button and step into the architect level. You will unlock exclusive uncensored videos that dive into the deepest parts of the human psyche. Most won't. That's the point.